I used to make up to $100,000 a month, and I decided to quit that business to live a boring life. Um, I've been putting off from making this video for some time because I, I mean, honestly, I've been struggling to allow myself the freedom to make things that I truly want without feeling like I need to get something from it. And I'm going to be looking off to the side because I've got some notes just so I can try to keep this coherent. Um, but uh, but yeah, I decided to quit my $1 million business to um, move to out of the country, move to Colombia. Right now, I'm living in Medellin, Colombia, with my wife and my 1-year-old Rain, and our soon-to-be daughter, River. Because I was burnt out, and I even even today, making this video is difficult for me because I always feel like I need to be doing something productive. Um, Making a video just sharing how I feel. Um, it's hard for me because like I want to live a simple life, but as a person that has been brainwashed into productivity and trying to get the most out of life and building multiple 7-figure businesses and just trying to get to this place that I am comfortably in now. It's hard to turn off from that. So I wanted to make this video for my kids, and maybe for anybody else that is feeling this way, of how do you de-hustle yourself, which is a very it's something that I've been finding very challenging. So I wanted to make this video to talk about why I walked away from $1 million business so I could live a quote-unquote boring life. Now, first I want to just talk about what boring, quote-unquote boring means to me, or a simple life, because a lot of people are simple living. For me, what I discovered through my journey of building these businesses, I had a full sales, just to give a little context, I had an Airbnb education business, Airbnb property management business, and I was raising capital from investors, raised over 7 figures to go out and acquire properties. And this was back, I started my Airbnb journey back in 2019, and just as a podcast, I was just interviewing people because I was interested in getting into Airbnb. I found a mentor, a business partner during that time, and we decided to work together, and we started, I looked at him for mentorship because he had a lot more experience than me. I didn't really have, I tried starting a bunch of different businesses up until that point, but I never had any success. So I looked to a mentor for this. So, I don't need to go into the whole story, but with this, but eventually, over the course of about 3 years, we were able to scale the education business to over 7 figures, property management business to over 7 figures, raised over 7 figures to go out and acquire capital. And in 2023, basically everything stopped. I had a sales team of 5 people that was selling. 3 of them were full time, and I stopped the education business essentially, or we eventually kind of stopped it. The property management the same, raising capital same. Um, there was lawsuits involved. There was stress with um, complications in any partnership, just because there's different um, different values. So I realized that after all of this, getting a lot more gray hairs, that uh, what I really needed and what my body was telling me, because I was on high stress. I was constantly uh, putting out fires and um, trying to resolve issues, and because I thought that that's what I needed to do. I thought that I always needed to be working, that I always needed to be on, um, that I always needed to be selling, I always needed to be growing. And I realized that what it was doing to my body, to my soul. Um, so we eventually everything slowed down, and I realized over the course of a couple years now, that I don't want to manage a team anymore. Um, a boring life for me, kind of going back to that. I don't want to manage a team anymore. I had a constantly full calendar, back to back, and now I don't want anything on my calendar. I want complete nothing scheduled. Before I used to be proud that it was like I was constantly busy, and now I look at that and I just kind of like cringe, because to me it's like being overly busy feels like there's something wrong. Um, I don't want any more business partners anymore. I even had a recent um, situation where I tried getting back into a partnership, and realized that um, again, it was just a reaffirmation that this was not the path that I should be going down, because again, it's there's conflicting values and conflicting ethics, and work ethics, and what people want. And I just realized that for me, it's I just need to stop, and I never learned how to not stop, and that's the process that I'm going through right now, is trying to learn how to stop. Um, I did YouTube full time after leaving my businesses. I tried doing YouTube full time, and I had uh, 5 video editors at one, or 3 full time video editors, a full time thumbnail designer, a full time assistant, and I was making money off of my YouTube channel, and um, but I was just moving from one hustle to another hustle, and then when I decided, like, hey, like, YouTube it's not like I'm hustling and I'm doing these things and I'm constantly thinking about it and constantly trying to grow. I also realized, like, I need to step back from this, because there's something unhealthy here. And then I immediately go and try to get into another business partnership, and this one was shorter lived, but shorter lived, thankfully. Um, but again, it was catching myself in that pattern of me trying to do something more complicated, rather than doing what I said that I know that I need to do for my body, which is to slow down and simplify things and live more, a quote unquote boring life. Um, so I I decided to walk away from um, what everyone says is success. Um, this hustle mentality, uh, the Alex Hermosi's, the Ali Abdal's, the uh, the Grant Cardones, the Alex Beckers, I was involved in that whole world, and I was, I brainwashed myself to believe that that's what I needed um, for my life. Um, and you know, yeah, always optimizing, never resting. I remember this was before I even started the Airbnb businesses. I was trying to hack my sleep. I was trying to like take naps during the day, and I would, you know, try to work throughout the night, and I would maybe take like a 2 hour nap, and I was listening and following these things about how you don't actually need a full night's rest, and I was taking these naps, and it was ridiculous, and I was that because that's what I was consuming. I was listening to these things, but telling myself that I needed to do this if I wanted to be successful. And this was even before I, had my quote unquote success. Um, I looked at burnout as like something of like something to be proud of. I hear Mr. Beast now even saying like, when he gets burnt out, he'll just stop, and then he'll spend a day just where he watches, binges watching an anime, and then he'll get right back into work, and he doesn't know like how to turn off. And he even said he didn't want kids because he was afraid of how that could limit his life. And I completely understand that, because I resonate with that. um, Now I don't necessarily resonate with that, because I do have a kid. I have another kid on the way. But hearing that, it kind of shocked me, and it was like, hey, that is me. Like or that was me. I understand that feeling, because I was there. um, and now I even find it difficult to listen to things like, I was listening to this podcast, My First Million, and I was listening to these ideas, and then at a certain point I was just like when I look at these things, when I look at things like people in this hustle culture, um, like it does something to my body. Like, I don't know, I feel, um, it's like I understand, because I've been there, I was in there, but then at the same time now I'm just like I'm put off by it. Like my body's rejecting it, but internally I still feel hardwired. And I say these things like I've been studying Taoism, and I've been trying to live a simpler life, and intellectually, conceptually, like I know what I need, but my body's still hardwired for optimization and productivity, and looking at time as an investment. And if I invest my time even to something like this video, then it's, I'm losing out on me growing in whatever it is that I want to do. Like, even now, like, um, I've quit all this stuff, but now I'm studying trading, because I believe that trading is more aligned with the life that I want to live. Not day trading, more of like swing trading, slower paced, because I don't want to be on all day. Um, so I want, I've been putting off things, like I've been putting off working out. And some people say like, oh well, I work out because it helps me become more productive. And I don't want to optimize. I've done that. um, I've done that. Like, I was training, I went to Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer School, so I could be the guy that was jumping out of the helicopter, counting all my macros, adding on more weight. I was, even about, right before I had a kid, like I was spending like an hour and a half in the gym, every day with a personal trainer. And I can fall into this habit where it's like, well, I'm working out because it makes me more productive when I'm working, rather than just like I'm working out and I'm doing something because I enjoy it. Um, so I stopped even doing that. But even now I can see myself falling back into that trap of, well, I'm trying to learn how to become a trader, so it's like I need to put off doing this thing, working out, or doing these things. And it's a trap that I keep finding myself falling back into. And that's why I wanted to again make this video. The reason why I walked away from this thing was so I could live a simpler life. but that doesn't mean that I am fully living that life. I'm trying to, but it's been, like over a decade now of this hardwiring of me trying to optimize my time and my life and looking at life through a certain lens, for maximum productivity. And now I feel like I'm trying to live again. Um, so what I found in the boring, simpler life, again, it's time with my son, with my wife, with myself. Um, just a quiet, relaxed morning. I don't have an alarm clock anymore. And again, these are luxuries that I have now because I've made some smart decisions. With by joining the military, getting into real estate, starting these businesses, building up some passive income. So I'm not saying that it wasn't something that I shouldn't have done. It was a part of the process. But it's like extremes. Like you can go from I went from one extreme where I was, doing all of these things, building my income, building my skills, and doing this to the point where I neglected myself. And now it's like I'm to the point where it's like, well, I'm pushing off all of these things and cutting out all of these things and cutting my income and cutting the revenue, the income possibility for myself, and now I'm trying to find some balance in there. But quiet mornings where I don't have an alarm clock, a business that doesn't own me, business that doesn't own me. Even YouTube, I felt that YouTube owned me at a certain point. It was an unhealthy way of creating. But again, it was for a business and for a purpose and for specific goals and specific numbers, income. So my deeper why. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to my deeper why is I want to be I want to be there for my kids, and I want them to be able to look at me and not say, why was dad always on? Like, I never felt like he was fully there. In my life, and this is probably a story for another video, but in my life, my dad owned, he was a chef. He owned a couple restaurants in Tokyo, and I lived in the U.S. And because he had to run his restaurants, and so I never got to see my dad that often. Like, he'd come for the summers for 1 month, 1 or 2 months, every year, every other year, and but my dad wasn't really a part of my life. A blessing and a curse. Again, stories for other videos, but I don't want to not be there for my kids like my dad wasn't there for me. And I also don't want to be always turned on, like always hustling, always, like Elon Musk. like I heard that Elon Musk, he'll be responding to emails with his kids, and like he'll like multitask and say like, well, like he's just not fully there. This is from what I've heard, and people romanticize Elon Musk. I romanticized Elon Musk, of a guy that is going to space and doing all these amazing things, but he also has this very toxic personal life. Steve Jobs, uh, Mr. Beast, Alex Ramosi. Um, you know, Again, maybe they're comfortable with their lives. I don't want to talk about their lives and what they're going through, but I know for me, um, it's I, I've romanticized that, and I've also had conflict with that now, um, because the things that I don't want. Um, to me, I think boring isn't emptiness. It's not laziness. It's not laying down and not doing anything. Um, to me, it's honesty. Um, it's reclaiming myself, my time. Um, it's changing my lens of how I look, how I've looked at life, and um, essentially stepping out of the matrix. Everybody says, "Oh, you need to step out of the matrix, and you need to hustle, and you need to make all this money, and you need to blah 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 blah, take the red pill instead of the blue pill." There is some truth in that, but then also there's a matrix inside of the matrix. you know, you can hustle and do all these things, but then you're still within a matrix, and you need to step out of that, and that is a simple, boring life. It's like, yeah, there's a balance in there. There's some truth in that, but there's also truth in stepping away. Um, so I wanted to document these videos for, again, my kids and whoever else might be interested in this. It's raw, it's uncut, it's honest, and this is also part of my healing process, because as a YouTuber, as a person that has been making YouTube videos and doing that for income and for growth, I've hyper optimized everything. I've tried to make the best thumbnail, the best, increase my CTR, my AVD, hook people to the end of the video so they continue to watch more videos, increase my revenue through funnels and and uh, and I haven't allowed myself to just create just for the sake of creating, and also without expectations of what it could be. Um, so, yeah, I just want to say what's on my mind, share lessons that I'm going through, not necessarily things that I'm an expert in, just things that I'm living through, so that way other people, my kids, anybody who resonates with this, doesn't have to look at me like I'm the expert. I'm just sharing where I'm at in my life, things that I'm struggling with, things that I've been learning, and hopefully, my kids or yourself, you don't feel like you're alone in this, and that there are other people that that feel the same way and are going through this, going through these changes, and without an expectation of views or results from this. If this gets, uh, you know, 0 views, I'm okay with that, because again, I'm doing this for me. Um, so, yeah, that's basically it.